Hello, I'm the Ultimate Fanboy, and it's October, the month of Halloween, a time for ghouls, ghosts, and all manner of spooky things. I absolutely love Halloween, and one of my favorite things about it is horror animation. This might be surprising to some, but animation really lends itself to horror. There are a ton of animated films, shorts, and TV shows with prominent horror elements, and I love watching them around the holiday. But by far my favourite animated film to watch around this holiday is The Nightmare Before Christmas, and since it's about two holidays, I can watch it around Halloween and Christmas. You know, there's nothing stopping you from watching it any other time of the year. Just because it takes place on a holiday, or two in this case, doesn't mean you can only watch it on that holiday. You can watch it literally anytime you want. Yeah, but it's not the same, you know? Not really. Besides, if you have to assign it to this with a holiday, then it's clearly a Halloween movie. Well, that's a fair assessment. It does have a lot of Halloweeny elements, and
No, it's clearly a Christmas movie. The majority of the film takes place on the eve of Christmas.
That's also a fair assessment. But most of the film is spent in Halloween Town.
But it has Christmas in the title.
It's a Halloween movie. It's a Christmas movie. Shut up. Both of you, shut up. I don't care whether it's a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie. I think it's both. I watch it around both holidays. I'm reviewing it in October because it's first. Okay? Fine.
Fine.
so with that debate out of the way, let's take a look at The Nightmare Before Christmas. The story is very simple, as is the execution. However, I think it really works in favour of the film. Jack Skellington, which is an amazing pun by the way, is the Pumpkin King, who resides in Halloween Town, a land populated entirely by monsters obsessed with the holiday of their namesake. In fact, there are awards for every holiday. Every year, Jack puts on a celebration for Halloween, but he's found himself getting bored of doing the same thing every year. He stumbles upon the doors to the other holiday worlds, and he finds himself enamored with the door that has a Christmas tree on it. And when he opens it, he falls in and discovers Christmas Land, a world pretty much polar opposite to his. After seeing Christmas for the first time, he becomes fascinated with the holiday, and decides that he wants to try out Christmas, much to the dismay of the townsfolk, who don't really understand Christmas, but back his idea up anyway. The Halloween stuff clashes with the Christmas stuff, and nothing goes according to plan. Also, Jack and his zombie girlfriend have to save Santa from an evil sack filled with bugs that lives in a giant casino. Yeah. So the story is certainly interesting, as well as unique. I can't recall a single other film with this concept. Though it's not really explored, the idea of each holiday having its own world is very interesting, and I do kind of wish that it was explored further in the film. Although it's simple, the way the story progresses makes it seem grandiose and extravagant. But what really stands out to me about the plot is in its execution. The film is told in a very childlike way, but in the best way possible. It reminds me almost of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, especially in the opening narration. It also reminds me of those Rankin-Bass stop-motion films with its pacing and dialogue. Either way, it creates a whimsical and joyful atmosphere, like being a kid on Christmas, or Halloween. I absolutely love stop motion. It's by far my favourite type of animation, so a film using stop motion animation is always a plus for me, and this film is no exception. The animation in this film is really fantastic, the character movements are really smooth, the characters are very expressive, and the sets make Halloween Town seem really huge. What I enjoy the most about this film's animation is the little touches, like how it uses the fact that the characters have detachable parts, like with the clown with the tearaway face, or with Jack taking off his head during one of the songs, Alas, Poor Yorick, I Knew Him Well. Or the background character whose face is melting. His face really was melting, it was made of wax. Or Oogie's glow-in-the-dark musical number. Little touches like these, coupled with really creative and memorable character designs, help give the film its own unique identity. The art design is also nothing to sneeze at. Halloween Town really does look like a town that embodies Halloween. It has a lot of blacks and oranges with splashes of greens, purples, and reds. There's a lot of harsh shadows and odd spiral-like shapes that seem to be inspired by German Expressionism. Christmas Town is the same except with Christmas. It has a lot of white, red, and is very bright and glittery. The two holidays seem like complete polar opposites that do not go together, like summer and winter. However, when they come together in the third act, it looks really cool. The Halloweeny and Christmassy elements really complement each other, and I like to see these two holidays combined in other films. I also kind of don't, though, because I think it helps separate this movie from other holiday films. Although the fact that it's stop motion and the unique combination of Christmas and Halloween are major draws of the animation that has going for it, it's also highly stylized and extremely competent. It's clear that the animators knew what they were doing. A lot of characters in the film, such as the Mayor or Dr. Finkelstein, even though they're good characters, are ultimately more memorable for their designs than their personalities. However, the most important characters are very memorable and also very likable. Jack has this charming innocence to him with his passionate fascination with Christmas. I can really relate to his desire to share his passion with the world, but it not really being understood, and I'm sure a lot of other people can too. I find Sally really likable, but I can't really put my finger on why. She's sweet, rebellious, a hopeless romantic, and she predicts that something bad is going to happen. There's not much else to say about her really, but I still really like her character all the same. The direction they go with Santa was unexpected. Typically Santa is portrayed as kind, jolly, cheerful, etc. However, this Santa is crotchety, surly, and kind of an arse to be honest, which I find to be a really interesting direction to go with the Santa character. But he's not really in the movie for very long. The longest he's on screen is during the villain song/torture scene. Speaking of, Oogie Boogie is the villain of the story, and he's my personal favourite character in the entire movie. He's so fun to watch and he's just bursting with personality. Part of that is due to the outstanding performance by Ken Page, who is highly talented, but his energized jazzy movements certainly help. The only problem I have with Oogie isn't anything to do with him as a character. It's the fact that the story didn't really need a villain. There's no real point to him being there in the movie, although ultimately I am really glad that they included him. This movie score is amazing. You'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't know the words to This Is Halloween or What's This off by heart, but other songs like Kidnap the Santa Claus, Poor Old Jack, and of course Oogie's song are all really amazing in their own right. I often find myself singing these songs all year round, which just shows how memorable they are. The Nightmare Before Christmas is an absolute must-see. It's an outstanding film with a whimsical story, phenomenal and creative animation, and identifiable characters. If you haven't seen it yet, then I highly recommend you watch it either this Halloween or this Christmas. And that was my review of The Nightmare Before Christmas. If you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend you check it out. And I hope you enjoyed that because we're just getting started. There's still the rest of October to come. Comment your spooky recommendations and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.
You hear the screeching of